entrepreneur. I didn't go to school for business, right? I went to school for communications. I decided to leave the in-person world and build my online coaching program, help women with their mindset. And whether it's business or your health, mindset is one of the biggest things. My clients will say, Coach Ange, how do you stay so positive? And I'm like, it's a choice every day. How I felt I received love growing up was like, oh, you got straight A's, good job. Oh, you graduated college with honors, good job. And then your sense of worth becomes attached to the performance. We were never actually taught the intrinsic worth.
You've done a great job with your personal brand. How do you connect that, your coaching that you do with your clients?
What's their story? Like, I need to know their story. What's your story? And then it's talking about your story, and that's how you relate to your ideal client. Be true to yourself. I will say something that I have never done or never chased is trends and views. Share your story, give massive value. Your business, your career will only go as far as your body will take you. We have one life on this earth. We live in one body. Treat it with the respect that you treat your business.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the X Factor Marketing Podcast, where we spotlight the people and the stories transforming lives through marketing, branding, leadership, and their personal X Factor. Today's guest brings the fire when it comes to owning your worth, building a business you love, and taking your health and mindset to the next level. I'm thrilled to be joined by Angelica Ventrice, former corporate high achiever turned top health coach and wellness entrepreneur. Angelica is a powerhouse. She's helped hundreds of women step into confidence, clarity, and total transformation, mind, body, and business. And today we're diving into her journey, her wellness strategies, and what it really takes to build a personal brand and thrive as a woman in business. Angelica, welcome to the pod. I am so delighted to have you here with us today.
Thank you. What a nice intro. Made me blush.
Aw. So tell me, what do you think is your X factor that led you to jump into entrepreneurship?
Wow. Okay. So I come from a background in pharmaceutical sales. Actually, let's backtrack to my first sales job when I was 16 selling sneakers in the mall. And I just realized that, literally, this was my first sales job. My parents like, you can drive now, go get a job.
Go get a job, yeah.
Job, right? So I realized that I had an ability to be able to connect to almost anyone. It didn't matter if they were 80 or 90 or 15 years old. I could sell sneakers to anyone. Of course, that didn't hit me till later in life, but I realized that, right? And I was like, oh, I'm really good at the sales thing. I wasn't making commission. It was just like an hourly job, and I really, really loved it. I loved just talking to people. Go through college, do the things. I decided I wanted to do pharmaceutical sales. It seems like a lucrative career. It seems fun. You're not sitting in an office. I do pharmaceutical sales, and it's kind of the same thing, talking to whether it's doctors or nurses or whoever it was. And I realized like, oh, once again, I'm really just good at connecting with people. Like no matter what their background is, I just have this ability just to connect with anyone. And then when I decided to leave the pharmaceutical sales world, and that's, I had my weight loss journey, I got into health coaching, and then I started working at a gym. Same thing. My clients were all these different types of clients, male, female, older, back surgeries, like, pregnant women. I was like, here we go again. Like I have this ability to really connect deeply on a human level to a variety of people. So I would say that's one of my X factors, and helping people see things that they cannot see within themselves. Obviously now that's what I help women with.
Yes, that's a huge X factor. So how did you go about sort of taking that and then building your brand around that? Because you've done such an incredible job in building your brand. And when I look at your YouTube channel or your Instagram, page, like it's very clear on who you are, what your brand is. And I would say what you just described to us as your X factor comes across in your social channels.
Good. Yeah. Okay. Amazing.
Yeah, that is good. That's very
like huge compliment. Thank you, queen of marketing. I mean, because as an entrepreneur, I didn't go to school for business, right? I went to school for communications and I did pharmaceutical sales. So marketing is one of those things you just, as an entrepreneur, you have to learn and get better, right? So I appreciate that. So for me, after I had my weight loss journey, something was like, and I think a lot of entrepreneur skill is, I'm sure you felt this at some point, but there's like a gut punch, something that tells you like you're meant for more, like you're meant to help people in a deeper way. And just doing pharmaceutical sales wasn't fulfilling for me. So I decided to leave that, get into coaching with no background. Like I had the certifications. I went to a gym first. I figured, all right, let me at least start meeting people in person. And then also realized I was super unfulfilling and I wanted to reach people on a deeper level. Just giving them workouts and putting them through a workout wasn't fulfilling. So once again, it's just like this. I felt like I was a therapist when I was doing personal training. I'm like, I have this ability, like, should I go back to school to be a therapist? What's going on? I felt like this deep ability to like connect with humans on a deep level. So when I decided to leave the in-person world and build my online coaching program, one of the main things I knew I wanted to do is help women with their mindset, because that was one of the things that I worked on so deeply. And whether it's business, in the business, or your health, mindset is one of the biggest things you always need to work on. So that's something that I really have carried with me. I've done it myself. I do it with my clients. And I think that comes out of my brand too. It's not just about quote unquote body transformation. It's about tapping into your identity, who you are, who you're being. And that matters. You talk a lot about having an authentic brand. Who are you being, right? Are you trying to be Susie down the street and look at what she's doing? Or are you really tapping into you, your true self, not your ego self, your true self? So that's something that I worked on and brought into the program. Yeah.
That's awesome. And I mean, I think that, so many takeaways in what you just said, right? And it's not a like one and done, right? Like we work on that every day.
Every day. Just like you work on your health every day. Like you don't go to the gym once and have a nice butt. Like it's a continuous thing. Like my clients will say, Coach Ange, how do you stay so positive? And I'm like, it's a choice every day, because I don't come from a background of that. My parents were very cynical, more negative. When I told them I was leaving my very successful pharmaceutical sales job to start a health career, they're like, doing what? You're going to what? Work at a gym? You're going to leave a 6-figure job to go make $14 an hour in a gym? You're crazy. And I just had this deep, deep knowing that really females have really good intuition, a lot of us. So that deep, and I'm an Aries, so I'm fiery. So it's like, I just had this deep knowing, like, no, this is what I'm meant to do. I'm meant to help people with their minds, with their health, with their bodies. And eventually turned into helping them with their business as well. But that wasn't the first aspect I would do. Yeah.
That's amazing. So you kind of touched on this, like you work with very high achieving women, but at the same time, oftentimes high achieving women are also really struggling with navigating stress, navigating burnout. And one of, that your superpowers, that X factor is helping us sort of like just balance all of that and finding. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about like what that looks like and like finding that sort of balance of like hustle and harmony.
Yeah, hustle. I love that. Yeah, I actually have a workshop called the Healthy Hustle Workshop, because to be honest with you, I'm from New York. I love to hustle. You love to hustle. Like there's nothing wrong with the hustle, but it's how are you doing it, right? Or if you're doing it from a place of burnout where you're losing touch with yourself, you feel disconnected, you feel out of alignment in your body, you feel disconnected from your partner, maybe you're even losing that joy for your career, then the hustle is not working for you, right? So when a woman comes to me, and a lot of them, they do very well in their career, but when they hear me say things like, it's about your identity, right? They slow down. They're like, oh, what am I doing here? But they realize that they're losing touch with themselves. And this is why the mind-body connection is such an important piece of what I teach in our program. It's not just here, it's in our body too. It's getting your body out of fight or flight. It's learning how to sit with yourself in silence. And I do teach meditation, and I do believe strongly in it. And I know a lot of high achievers will be like, I don't have time for that. Everyone has 3 minutes, right? To just slow down. Like something simple like box breathing in your car, in between real estate appointments, if you're feeling stressed. So it's just helping women reconnect to who they are and tune back into themselves. Because as high achievers, and a lot of the women I work with are mothers too, they're pouring into everyone else and everything before they're tuning into themselves. So it's getting them to slow down and remember that like you are worth it. Yes, your career is amazing and money is amazing and selling all the houses is amazing, but like if you don't feel good while you're doing it, then it's not worth it. Then you're out of alignment. And that being out of alignment pulls you out of feeling authentic and pulls you out of really reaching the highest self in your career. You can only operate in burnout for so long.
Why do you think so many high achievers lose that sort of sense of self or lose that sort of being in touch with themselves along the way of that sort of climb and whatever they perceive that climb to success to be?
Right. Like get to the mountain and it's not enough. Get to the mountain, it's not enough.
Yeah.
Often how they grew up, things their parents said, things teachers said, conditioning, the environment. For me, how how I felt I received love growing up. It was like, oh, you got straight A's, good job. Oh, you graduated college with honors, good job. So you attach your worth to like, oh, I'm worthy when I achieve XYZ. Oh, I graduated with honors. Oh, I sold the most. Oh, I'm the #1 pharmaceutical sales rep in the country. I'm amazing. And then your sense of worth becomes attached to the performance. We were never actually taught the intrinsic worth. Like your parents never said to you, okay, well, at least mine didn't. I don't think many parents, maybe nowadays more, but when we were growing up, it wasn't like, okay, let's focus on how to love yourself really from the inside out.
Yeah, I grew up with the feeling of always, you could have done a little bit better. Like if you got the A, it was like, oh, that's really good, Wendy. But if you studied a little bit harder, you could have got an A plus.
Same.
Right? So it was always like, oh, that was good, but I could have done better. If I'd have worked harder, if I, whatever it was this, oh, you could have been a little bit more.
Well, then you push yourself and it's made you very successful. It's made me very successful, but I'll speak for myself here. It's come at the cost of my health at certain times, which now I'm in alignment, but pushing to that certain level to be that top pharmaceutical sales rep back in the day, I was sick. I was overweight. I felt horrible. I looked horrible, so there's a toll it takes on us. And that's why I'm really passionate about helping women achieve the greatness in their career, but not at the expense of their health and wellness, not at the expense of their minds and their bodies and their souls.
Yes. So let's bring all of that back to building a personal brand. Because part of, I think, that keeping that alignment between sort of self and mind and health has a lot to do with how you show up, right? And that is the core of your personal brand. So I want to talk with this from sort of how you show up as your personal brand, because I complimented you earlier because I think you've done a great job with your personal brand. How do you connect that into your coaching that you do with your clients and helping them show up as their authentic selves in what they put out there to the world and their branding?
So for me, it's always been very important to have that what's your unique angle, right? What's my unique angle? And who you are as a person, we're all so unique, we're all so different, but we can get lost in the sea of like, oh, look what that person's doing, look what that. So when I meet with a client and they want to do branding or business coaching with me, what's their story? Like, I need to know their story. What's your story? Then it's talking about your story, and that's how you relate to your ideal client. And, we are best served to serve who we once were, right? So I look at like, who was I? I was overweight. I was burnt out, right? So I'll ask my clients the same thing. Tell me about your past. Tell me your story. Who was your ideal client? Who you want to work with? And then we go from there. That story piece, in my opinion, will always be the most important piece to branding and marketing. If you agree, you're really the expert, but your unique story, because there's a million health coaches. There's a million health coaches for me doing.
Oh, just like a million real estate agents, right?
Yes, exactly. So like, it's finding your unique angle, and no matter what line of work you're in, whether it's real estate, whether it's health coaching. I have 2 clients that actually they're nutrition coaches for people with cancer, because they both went through it themselves, but their stories are completely different, right? So their stories, one has a daughter who went through it, one went through it herself, right? So bringing those stories to life, that helps with the connection, that helps build your brand. And I've even, sometimes I think being a marketer, you forget to share your story when you've been online for a while. So I recently said to myself, no, every week I'm sharing it again and again, because not everyone who lands on your page sees all the things all the time. So it's like, you always need to be sharing different angles of your story, whether it's part of my entrepreneurial journey, part of when I was depressed and had acne, the gut health issues, the overweight, like always sharing your story.
Yes, it is so true. I recently got off stage at an event, and is somebody I really admire kind of pulled me aside and had been sitting in the stage watching, and I hadn't shared my start in the business, that I started as an agent, that I started as a broker owner, that I started when I was in my early 20s. I hadn't shared that in my introduction because I share that so much. It was kind of like, everyone knows that already. And she pulled me aside and she was like, you need to tell that story because people need to know that. And I was like, but don't they know that? And to your point, no, they don't know that. We have to tell
Oh my
her.
gosh, here we go again. I'm annoying them saying, every time I'm speaking, I'm like, oh, they must have seen it or read it on my website or saw it on my page, but it's like, they don't, and if they heard it again, they heard it again, right? I mean, who cares? It's like, sharing the story.
So how do you balance vulnerability with professionalism and weaving through that kind of sharing our stories, especially as women? Because a lot of times our stories do lead to being vulnerable. And we tend to struggle with that in a professional environment. So how do you balance all of that?
I feel like in the online world, as long as I'm not like bawling my eyes out on camera and being kind of ridiculous, like there's a level of vulnerability. I feel like sometimes I look on social media and like, I don't know, why are you recording yourself crying? That seems like the least authentic thing to do. Like, I just don't record myself crying. So I think there's that fine balance with like being real genuine and coming out about your stories and, sharing it, whether it's on a YouTube channel or an Instagram live or a story. But maybe not oversharing certain parts. I think it's in the way you write and the way you describe. Like if I'm going to talk about, I've been open about my husband and I going to therapy. I'm not sharing every little intricacy of all of our fights, but I'm sharing to say like, hey, I'm not perfect. Like I have struggles too, or I struggle with binge eating, but I'm not going into like the details of me standing in my closet, maybe binge eating the jar of peanut butter, maybe sometimes. But I think there's a fine line with oversharing. But for me, that's something I haven't struggled with too much because I don't feel like I'm like overdoing it in that sense. But I think some people do online. They can overdo it.
Yeah, I think some people can overdo it for sure, or they can be, or can just not be vulnerable enough where they just don't connect, right?
I've been told that before, actually, from other coaches. You obviously didn't feel that way, but I've been told that before. Like you're not being vulnerable enough, and I'm like, I just told my story. Like how? So I think everyone's opinion is like you have to. Also, this goes back into tuning into you, right? There's a lot of noise. I've worked with a lot of coaches. And sometimes you just have to sit with yourself and say, what feels good to me? Is this aligned with my values and who I'm being and what I want my audience to learn about me? Because you're going to get a lot of opinions. I've had people say to me, coaches be like, oh, well, your transformation photo is not that great. It's not really relatable. Then I've had other people say, no, that's an amazing transformation. So it's like, you're never going to please everyone. You have to stay true to yourself.
Yes, that is some great advice right there. It's absolutely some great advice. I have seen, especially with like real estate agents, where you'll meet a real estate agent and like they're just amazing, and you get to know them a little bit and know their story and their brand. But then you'll look at them online, and it will be very generic. And like they're not coming across at all like the person they are in real life. So sometimes you'll see that like sort of misalignment there.
I was coaching a realtor and she sent me some of her videos of her touring the home. And I was like, I am so bored watching your video. I said, well, at first I prefaced it, I'm like, do you want me to be brutally honest with you as your coach? Or do you want me to like, you're a coach? She's like, no, just be brutally honest. I was like, you need to show your personality. You need to paint the vision of this house. Like it's not just showing the room. So, but in person, when I met her, she's like amazing and bubbly and like,
exactly. Yeah, bring that person to like, yeah.
I think some people they're shy, they're scared. Once again, like we didn't grow up being trained on how to make videos. This is new to a lot of us. I mean, now, of course, there's more courses, but when I started online years ago, and I was like, figure out my first Facebook Live, I was dripping sweat, like freaking out. So, learn as you.
Yeah. You mentioned a little bit earlier about box breathing and just sort of some interest, like some easy strategies to kind of like stay grounded and sort of reduce the stress throughout the day. What are some like habits or things like that you like would recommend for those of us sort of like highly driven, high energy, on the go women that we could sort of like incorporate like into our days just to take a little break there. Like, yeah.
I would say first things first, and I know most people listening will be so guilty of this, do not look at your phone the second you wake up. Like, I know how high achievers, when you're up, like, boom, right? So what you're doing when you do that is you are starting your day in reaction mode. You're extremely reactive, right? Because you already turned to the outside world. You gave yourself no time tuning into you. So you've already elevated your cortisol and your nervous system right off the bat. And let's be honest, as females, we don't want to make the cortisol any higher than necessary, especially if we're over 40, okay? So you're already like, here I am on my phone like a crazy person answering the emails like, okay, nothing's going to burn down if you took 5 minutes for yourself in the morning. I don't care if you did breathing, a guided meditation, you just sat there in silence, you looked at the sun, you put your feet in the earth, pick something that feels good to you, play with your puppy, whatever it is, but don't check the phone because you're raising your cortisol and you're putting your body into fight or flight before the day's even started. Okay, so that's
so I'm guilty of that though. But you know what I do look at first? I look at my Aura Ring app. It's the first thing I look at every morning.
And when you look at it, do you get an emotional charge?
Well, it depends on what it says.
Right.
Depends on what my readiness score is and my sleep score is.
So right, you're like, so if you looked at it and you're like, oh man, I didn't sleep well, right? Then you're ready. There's the anxiousness and the nervousness. So give yourself, like, I say, start with 5 minutes. My morning routine before I even look at anything. Now my phone is my alarm and I use my meditations on it, but I'll wake up to massive amounts of texts. I'm in Maui. I'm 6 hours behind most of my clients and my coaching team, right? But I just don't look. Like, you have to train yourself to do it. And my morning routine is a half hour because I meditate for 20 minutes. I do a red light mask. I dunk my face in ice cold water. Not everyone wants or needs to have a 30-minute morning routine, but that's a non-negotiable for me. And it's really healthy. I'm an entrepreneur, I had this company and I have a property management company, so things can get crazy. It's like that morning is sacred. Your morning is sacred as an entrepreneur.
Okay, so 5 minutes without looking at my phone.
Yes. But you can journal, breathe. If you live in a warm climate, it's pretty much warm most places now. Stick your feet in the earth, go outside, do some grounding, connect your energy to the earth. I mean, there's lots of different, some people don't like journaling, so then meditate, but just do something, breathe, and you can type in YouTube, like 5-minute meditation. Very simple. We have access to everything these days. There's really no excuses. And then in the middle of the day, if you're feeling super anxious, I think box breathing is the easiest. You can just do it anywhere, anytime, sit in your car, pull over, just inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, one hand on heart, one hand on belly, tune back into you and just slow down. When I speak, I do a 1-minute meditation with people and they're like, oh my God, that was amazing. For 1 minute. This shows me how dysregulated people are. If they think my 1-minute meditation with them, it like changed. They're like, that was amazing, Angelica. I'm like, wow, it's just 1 minute of breathing. That shows me how much people are not doing that, or not slowing down, or not tuned into their bodies, completely disconnected.
So you've built a wonderful online community, like super engaged, great following. What advice do you have for creating a strong, value-driven tribe online?
Be true to yourself. First off, because there's a lot of trends, there's a lot of info, there's a lot of noise. And while we all want to get the quote unquote views, I will say something that I have never done or never chased is trends and views. I post what I want to post, what I think is going to relate, share my story, value. There's different content pillars and we don't need to go into that. But don't chase trends. Don't chase views. Just because your coach says, hey, use this, or someone says, use this audio, it's trending, like, it doesn't matter. If it doesn't feel good to you, if there's like an ickiness to it or a level of resistance, it's not going to energetically land. So always check in with yourself when you're posting, when you're creating things. Like, it should light you up. It should feel good in your body and your nervous system. If you feel a level of resistance, it's out of alignment for you, and then it's not going to land for your ideal client. The other piece to, building a successful online brand is being deeply connected to your ideal client and knowing why you want to serve them, right? There's a reason why I serve high-level professionals, because that was me. I didn't just choose them because they quote unquote make good money, right? It's like, that was me. I was the high-level professional living in the corporate world, so burnt out, saying yes to every event, drinking my face off, going to all these things, entertaining, and I was miserable. So I know what that feels like. Right? I also have PCOS. I'm also in perimenopause. So I know my ideal client and I'm working with them for a specific reason, right? So know your ideal client. Don't just pick a niche to pick a niche because someone told you pick the niche, right? And then lastly, my page looks nice, right? But you don't have to worry about it looking nice. Just go out there, just take action. I think
just
people
do it. I see that awesome. Just do it. Right.
And mine is I have branding, colors, and all the things. So when I first started, I did not have that. Don't worry about that. Just show up, even when you don't feel like showing up, show up and serve. Show up and serve and give massive value. Share your story, give massive value. Don't be afraid to give value. There's some coaches who are like, oh, well, don't overshare. It's it's okay, right? Because at the end of the day, for me, I could share all the information in the world, but that doesn't mean you're coaching with me is a different level because you have that connection, that accountability. So I just share and serve and take action. It doesn't need to be perfect.
That's awesome. I love it. And you might have touched on this, but what is one message you would want any woman listening to this to take away and remember from this episode?
To put themselves first. To put their health and their mindsets first. I understand career is important. I'm a highly driven, hustling entrepreneur. I get it. But your business, your career will only go as far as your body will take you. So we have one life on this earth, right? We live in one body. Treat it with the respect that you treat your business with.
That's amazing. All right. Closing out question. What's on the horizon for you? Like any big plans that you can share for you and your business, like goals, shifts, like anything that you can share?
Yeah. So one of my goals is to be a speaker, like maybe be on stage at Inman. No one is talking about health and alignment. So that is one of my big goals. That's why I started doing these speaking workshops for realtors throughout the country, just to get more comfortable speaking. I spoke a few times last year. So that's where my mind is at. To still have my coaching program, but get in some states and share my message and inspire not just women, but high level professionals throughout the country.
That's amazing. Well, listen, the stages around the world need more women on them. So whatever I can do to try to open up those doors, I will be doing that for you, because we need more women voices everywhere. And I'm a firm believer that woman to woman, it's our job to sponsor and support each other and find those opportunities for each other. So let's go do it and make it happen.
You can't forget to share your story, and I got to share mine right when we start.
Exactly. That's exactly what we do. So thank you so much for joining me today on the pod, and looking forward to continue to root for each other's success.
For sure. Thanks, Wendy.
You're welcome. Take care.